week, our program is powered by Harper's Tree and Stump Removal. If you have any tree trimming, tree removal, or stump removal needs, our friends at Harper's Tree and Stump Removal have you covered. In addition to these services, they can also haul rock and sand. They do driveway work and can now do horizontal grindings of large wood debris piles. Give our friend Keith a call. His number is 229-314-2048, or you can reach him at 229-938-2412. Harper's Tree and Stump Removal is proud to be the premier sponsor of the Integrity Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast, covering local sports in the Southwest Georgia area, creating content that is factual, positive, and informative, promoting efforts by athletes, coaches, and sports administrators. Now, here's your host, Tim Estes.
Well, hello, and thank you for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. I'm your host, Tim Estes, and I'm live at the Roman Oven Pizzeria here in the Americus Village Shopping Center. We're joined by my co-host, the legendary prognosticator, Scott Westbrook, and he is in our Butler, Georgia studios. And Scott, we had another good week of high school football last week. This week should be very similar.
Amen, Tim. I tell you what, we're getting towards the short rows, past mid-season. Things are starting to shake loose. Pecking orders are starting to be established in regions and in classifications. And I tell you, Tim, I cannot tell you how bad I wish I was at the Roman Oven tonight. I think I'm going to be relegated to a fried bologna sandwich whenever we get off air tonight.
Well, Scott, we missed you last week. Want to thank Logan Luton for doing a great job as your fill-in last week. And anytime that either myself or you can't be here, we'll always check in with Logan. He's a young guy that, Scott, I think's got a future in this business.
Most definitely. And if we can just, keep him away from Thurston and, me and you kind of bring him along, I think he'll be okay.
That's right. Hey, we've got some folks watching us tonight that we want to send a shout out to before we kind of get started with the show. Our friends over at Locked On Auburn are watching tonight. Want to say hello to Zach Blackerby and Daryl Dapprich from Locked On Auburn, as well as Taylor Korn from the Next Round Live. And Scott, I'm sure that Coach Michael Pollock and Coach Hart out at the University of Colorado will see this as well. So we got a lot of folks that tune in on a weekly basis, and this thing's getting to be a lot of fun.
It is. I tell you, Tim, you deserve all the success you're getting and all the accolades and connections with a lot of the bigger markets, and I'm happy to kind of just tag along with you.
Scott, let's start tonight with Southland Academy. They are our only local team that is going to be playing out of the three that we focus on each week. Southland was off last week. They played on a Monday night. It was a rain-delayed game on Monday night at Terrell Academy. They lost that in a heartbreaker, 13-10. So that puts them at 1-6 on the season. This week, they'll travel over to Dublin to take on the Trinity Christian Crusaders. And they had a chance to kind of let some bruises and soreness heal up. And I know you and I have spoken to various people at Southland. They had some kids that were under concussion protocol. So certainly a week off gave them a chance to get a little more rest and get healed up. I don't think this could have come at a better time.
Most definitely. But by the same token, I tell you, Southland and the players and the coaches have been playing and coaching above their heads these past few weeks. They've played in games that on paper should not have been as close as they were. They should, with all the injuries that Southland's had, the limited personnel that they have, they've played some teams that have not struggled with either one of them. And I think it's a testament to the coaching and the players that are fighting out there every single week. And like you said, a couple of weeks to lick your wounds and get healed up and stay focused on what's important. And to fine tune that wing tee, like you said, this could not have come at a better time.
Scott, this week they take on Trinity, and it'll be the first region game in GIAA Class AA for the Southland Academy Raiders. And I was looking at their rankings. You know, they do the Max Prep ranking system in the GIAA. And I want to talk some, Scott, about what's happened on both sides so far. But first with Southland and then with Trinity. If you look at Southland's schedule so far, they have played 5 Class AAA opponents. They've played 1 Class AA opponent, and then in Marion County, 1 GHSA opponent. When you compare that to Trinity, Trinity's played 5 Class AA GIAA opponents and 2 Class A opponents. So certainly I think the Raiders come into this contest a little more battle-tested than Trinity.
Right. With Southland, like you said, the strength of schedule is the number one in their classification, no doubt. With the schedule they have had an uphill climb all season long. But by the same token, they've rose to that occasion and have met a lot of teams where they were and played remarkably well against some teams with some bigger classifications, and they have a lot more resources than they have.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, Scott. Out of the 10 Class AA schools in the Georgia Independent Athletic Association, Southland at 1-6 still has the toughest schedule, number 1 in strength of schedule. Trinity that they'll be playing is ranked 5th out of those teams, so should be a good contest, a lot better than the records show.
Exactly.
What should Southland fans expect out of Trinity? Well, here's what we know about Trinity. They've got a very good quarterback by the name of Ben Castro Pavedo. He is currently 42 for 69 passing for 660 yards and 10 touchdowns. The biggest key to Ben is he's thrown no interceptions so far this year. He's got some good targets. Cruz Giles at the wide receiver spot has 10 receptions for 235 yards and 2 touchdowns. Bryson Bars has 13 receptions for 119 yards and 3 touchdowns. So they can throw the football, but that's not their only attack. Their most potent offensive weapon is going to be their junior running back. His name is Wade Register. He's currently rushed in 7 games for 756 yards and 10 touchdowns. So, Scott, it looks to me like they've got a very balanced attack on offense, and the Southland defense is going to be tested, and they'll need to play assignment football.
You can't be more balanced than what they've got right there. And plus, when you've got a rusher that's averaging over 100 yards a game, that jumps out at any level. That's a formidable opponent right there that you're going to have to deal with. The 0 interceptions, you know, with me as a just as somebody that knows less about football than the average fan, no interceptions. It tells me he's due. You know, a little bit of pressure, a little bit of some DBs being where they need to be. I think that Southland could maybe pick up an interception. You know, the guy's going to be coming in confident, and you know that he's going to be coming in, thinking that he's going to want to go the rest of the season in those interceptions. But he's due. That's going to be a tough deal for him.
Kickoff for the Southland game is going to be at 7:30. That'll be from Trinity in Dublin. We hope all the Raider fans can make their way over to Dublin for that game. If you can't make it, make sure and tune in to Rusty Tundy and Melvin Kinslow. They'll have it live on WISK 98.7. You in part by One Digital Solutions. They are a steward for business and personal development. One Digital resolves real problems by fusing together real solutions for your business and for your employees. Well, how do they do that, you may ask? They do it by providing a tech-enabled, customized solution to things like human resource management, financial services, and employee benefits. It really is everything all in one. It's one. And Will Peterson, his number is 229-347-6289, and let One Digital begin helping you today. Scott, are you back with?
I am. I was listening to you give Will Peterson's ad, and all of a sudden it just went blank on us.
Yeah, we've got a lot of folks here at Roman Oven tonight, a big crowd for Anthony, and well, I guess a lot of them are using Wi-Fi. We may have to deal with this a little more as we get through it, but let's try to get through it. We'll move on to the Sly County Wildcats. This past week, Sly County defeated Taylor County by a score of 26-20. The Wildcats will be off this week, and then we'll travel to Central of Talbotton next Friday night. But, Scott, I know you weren't there. You kept up with us with some text. But the Wildcats really escaped Ellaville Friday night with a 26-20 win over Taylor. And quite honestly, I felt like Sly County was outplayed for the majority of the game. The Taylor County quarterback, Braden Ellison, very, very impressive. He hurt the Wildcats with his legs. And mostly when the DBs would start coming up because they thought he was going to run, at that point he'd dump it to somebody out of the backfield or maybe on a short route by one of the receivers, and was just tough to handle. And you and I know this for several years. Coach Byram had a great game plan. He wanted to control the ball, keep it out of Sly County's offense's hands, and for the most part, it worked. But toward the very end of the game, with 1 minute left to go, really less than a minute, they lost Zayden Walker. And, Scott, if you're going to lose anybody on the football field, it can't be Zayden Walker. And they lined him up at tailback. He ran a little short route, kind of a flat route, and they pump faked to him. And when they did, the defensive back bit, and he went on a wheel route, and Blake Weldon found him 38 yards downfield, nobody within probably 15 or 20 yards of him, and that was the winning touchdown. So Sly County gets the win 26-20. I'm interested to hear what you have heard about that game.
You know, that's a game that I think Taylor County hates that it got away from them. They thought that, up until the last couple of minutes, they had that one in the W column for them, and they thought that was going to be that definitely was a game that they could have won. But like you said, when you sit there and you have a weapon like Zayden Walker, and Taylor County's got their own weapons. I told you they've got a couple of Braden Ellison committed to Georgia State. There's your FBS D1 player. They've got a couple of others. One's a junior this year, and so they've got some players coming up through the system. And I think this was a game that they wanted to win, they expected to win, but it just got away from them in the end. So I think that a lot of the fans are, now they've got to sit there and concentrate on what's down the road. They've got to start really concentrating on Macon County and hoping they can pull out an upset there.
Well, that's where I want to go with this, Scott. So when you look at the region standings now, Macon County and Sly County both are 4-3 overall. Macon County still undefeated in the region. Sly County at 3-1 because of that loss to Macon County earlier in the season. Taylor County currently sits in third place at 4-2. They're now 1-1 in region play. Then you've got Marion at 2-4. They're at 1-1 as well. Chatco's at 2-4, but they're 1-2. Then you got Crawford and Central of Talbotton that are down at the bottom. Crawford's 2-4. Central is 1-4. Here's what's interesting, Scott. Taylor County and Macon County don't play until the season finale on November the 1st. And that's going to be a huge game if the top three teams continue to win from here on out. Because think about this. If Taylor were to beat Macon, you're going to have three teams tied with one loss. Macon County would have beaten Sly. Sly would have beaten Taylor. Taylor would have beaten Macon. So I reached out to Coach Gabe Tice this week to find out if that happens, is there a predetermined way to break that tie? And there is. The region rule is they take the points allowed just during the games between those three teams. Well, that doesn't bode too well for Sly County because we gave up 46 points to Macon County and 20 points to Taylor County, so a total of 66 points that we've allowed. When you look at what the other two have allowed, 20 and 26 points. So, Scott, right now, I got to hope as a Sly County fan that we win out and that Macon County wins out.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's the only way Sly County ends up with a home first round home game. And you and I both know how difficult it is to win on the road in the playoffs in GHSA. That's a tough hill to climb there.
Absolutely. So Sly County off this week. One thing to make sure Sly County Wildcat fans know about, next week at Central of Talbotton, they have moved the kickoff to 6:30. So it won't be a 7:30 kickoff. It'll be a 6:30 kickoff from Talbotton. If you can't make it, we'll have it live on 94.7 WDEC. Today's program is also brought to you in part by Marty McDonald, State Farm Insurance. Marty is located at 925 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. His phone number is 928-3686. Give him or Mary Lynn or any of their fine staff a call and let them discuss your insurance needs with you. They can also do the famous discount double check to make sure you're receiving all of the savings that are available to you. Thanks again to Marty McDonald, State Farm Insurance, for sponsoring this segment of the Integrity Sports Podcast. And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. So that brings us, Scott, to the Sumter County Panthers. Sumter County overall is 7-0. Last week, they narrowly escaped. They beat Spencer 21-20 at home. This week, they're off, but boy, next week looms large as they'll play 6-1 Carver out of Columbus. But, Scott, I want to talk real quick before we get into that game about Will Rogers' decision. Late in the fourth quarter, 2 minutes left to go, Sumter County scores, and they can either kick it and tie it up, or they can go for two. And Will Rogers at home said, we're playing for the win. And he got it. If he hadn't gotten it, no telling what would have been said, but thank goodness he did get it, and the gamble paid off.
It did. And that just shows you the faith he has in his players, the faith he has in his assistant coaches, the fact that he was in the his home stadium and really wanted to give the fans something to talk about, and hopefully I think he was probably a little apprehensive, but he knew in his heart probably that those guys in practice he could a head coach can sense the momentum in a game, and he probably decided, hey, look, this is the time for him to do it.
Scott, when we look at Sumter County's region, pretty interesting right now. Sumter County sits atop the region at 7-0, and they're undefeated at 4-0 in region play. Carver of Columbus is 6-1, but they're also 4-0 region play. Spencer, who Sumter County just defeated, is 4-3 now. They're 2-2 in region play. Then you get to Hardaway, or rather Shaw. Shaw at 3-4, 2-2 in the region, and then Hardaway, Columbus, Kendrick, and Jordan round out the bottom four. So all in all, if you look at who does Carver have left, who does Sumter County have left, all of their remaining opponents are down in that bottom four. In fact, Carver's are Kendrick and Jordan, which are almost a given. So really next week at Carver is what you and I think would agree is for the region championship.
It is, and I think Sumter County is going to go in as an underdog. I think that the fact that Carver has had success for so long in that Columbus region, in the Columbus area, I think Carver's going to come in with a lot of confidence, and I think that this right here is going to be the game that either says, okay, Sumter County, you're at this level right now, and this is, if they lose, you're still at this level. But if you win, it propels you all the way up to the next level and makes you a contender in the state, and you start getting a lot more recognition in the state. This is a win they're going to have to get the respect they want, respect they desire, the acknowledgement that they turned the corner and are now a contender, not just a team that's won some close games.
I think you hit the nail on the head right there, Scott. There's a lot of folks out there asking right now, is Sumter County for real? And you and I certainly believe they are, but those folks that don't follow them and don't see them, that may be these sports writers that are voting in the polls, they want to vote with them because they're 7-0, but I think there's a lot of doubt as to whether they're legit. A big win over a team like Carver gives them statewide recognition and puts them on the next tier.
It reminds me a lot of Sly County last few years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. They were starting to, make a little noise. They won some games they shouldn't have won. They won, some playoff games that they shouldn't have won that people didn't think. And then suddenly, next thing you know, they're starting to be a preseason number one. They had to get some key victories to get that recognition and to get sports writers and coaches and, fans throughout the state to acknowledge, hey, something's going on down there that's not just a fluke, and this is them, I know, Coach Rogers has told these young men, if you really want to get the respect and the recognition that you desire, you're going to have to win this. You're going to go in as the underdog. Harvard's going to go in there with a lot of confidence. They've got years and years and years of confidence, but I think Sumter County playing good football right now probably takes it.
Absolutely. Let me finish on football at 7:00 next week. They'll kick it off in Columbus. When you play in Columbus, all of the Columbus schools have a 7:00 kickoff rather than a 7:30. So Panther fans, be aware of that. I also want to make the point, Scott, that football victories are paying off in other areas for Sumter County. Tonight, the Sumter County girls volleyball team was playing for the region championship in volleyball. So winning begets winning. A lot of things are starting to roll and take shape out at Sumter County. So it's good to see all those folks getting some success.
Football is so important in Georgia and the schools. And I hate to, I don't want to say it more important than any other sport because they're all important. But football's a lot of times either the rudder or the sail in your ship. I mean, it's directing the rest of your programs. And that sometimes reputations, especially in small rural school systems, there's about 3 sports that you get a reputation in. And it's usually baseball, football, or basketball. Softball's starting to get a toehold on that, and even in some schools, flag football. But the big 3, you got to win in those to get some recognition, and then all of a sudden it has a ripple effect.
Speaking of softball, Scott, Coach Marcus Wise and the Sumter County Panthers girls softball team have won more games this year than they have in the last 3 or 4 years combined. I'm not so sure they're not getting into the playoffs as one of the top 4 seeds. And that Columbus region over there is not bad in softball. Congratulations to those
soccer's
girls.
King over there. Yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
sorry. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Panther fans, remember, enjoy the week off, and then next week at Carver, and it'll be a 7:00 kickoff. Tonight's program is also brought to you by the Fish House Restaurant, located at 224 North Jackson Street in Americus. They offer some of the freshest seafood in all of Southwest Georgia. Whether it's fresh fish, oysters, or catfish in their seafood market, or a hot meal and a cold drink in the Seafood Center's Fish House next door, owner Mark Tyler and his staff want to serve you tonight. You can give them a call at 924-5177. You can even call in a to-go order at that same number, or you can sit down with them and have a great meal tonight. The Fish House, proud to sponsor the Integrity Sports Podcast. Scott, a good bit of football in our area. Several of our local teams that we kind of follow briefly are off this week, but probably the biggest game in all of Southwest Georgia is going to be down in Lee County. It was supposed to happen last week and got postponed due to Hurricane Helene, but Lee County at 6-0, going to host Coffee County at 5-0.
Lee County's favored by 7. They're playing at home. But let me tell you something. Douglas, Georgia has faced a lot of hurricane damage. And that community, if you don't think that they are behind this football team and would love a win over Lee County for their community, to give them something to bring a smile to their face after what they've gone through for Hurricane Helene, This could be it. And I guarantee you, the coaches are letting the young men in Coffee County and Douglas let them know that. But the reality is, it's played in Lee County, and Lee County is a powerhouse. It has been for a long time. Now, Lee County and Coffee County have played each other a lot of times, but I'm going to have to go with Lee County for this reason. They're playing at home, and the running back has committed to Georgia. He can kind of pin his ears back and do what he wants to do now on the football field. He has not given me any indication he's taking the foot off the gas, like some blue chip do sometimes their senior year. I don't think he's done it, so he might be looking for a big game himself. So we'll see what happens. But I'm gonna go with Lee County.
I'm going to agree with you. I do think Coffee County will play over their head for probably a couple of quarters, trying to unite after all the damage that's been done down there. And this is kind of a relief for them to get away and play football and hit somebody. But in the end, Lee County has just a little too much firepower, and they're at home. I'm going to go with Lee County as well. A game in Class 1A Division II that we'll keep our eye on will be Marion County. They're 2-4, and they'll be at Chatco, who's also 2-4. And Scott, as I've thought about this one, I really don't know who to pick. I have not seen Marion County myself yet. I really felt like Chatco was better than the score showed when they played Sly. So kind of be interested to hear your thoughts on this one.
Well, you and I are on the same page. Marion County, I've said all season long, I know they've got some athletes coming up. I just don't know when they're going to show up. Probably they've lost some games they should have won this year, to be honest with you. And Chatco has got some athletes. We saw when they played us. We had some fortunate turnovers, and I think that probably Chatco threw their hands up a little bit too early, and I think it was probably based on their past meetings against Sly County rather than this year's. But the reality is, I believe that Marion County is going to have to drive over to Casita, just a hop, skip, and a jump for them. But since it isn't Casita, I'm going to go with Chatco.
All right. I want to go with you, Scott, but for argument's sake, I'm going to go with Marion County. I do know Luke Jernigan pretty well, who coaches the line over there. And a lot of times a game like this is won or lost on the line of scrimmage. So, Luke, I'm not going to throw you under the bus. I'm going to go with you, and hopefully your Marion County Eagles can help me out.
Come on, Tim, me picking Chatco was not throwing Luke under the bus now.
No, I know. I'm trying to give him a shout out there.
Because Chatco's at home, and hopefully Luke will take what I said and get those Marion County athletes that we know they got to get them to start playing some inspired football.
That's right. Scott, I think Taylor County's got pretty much a give me. They're 4-2. They travel over to Central of Talbotton, who's 1-4. I look for Taylor to rebound big after the loss to Sly County, and they'll win by several touchdowns at Central.
I would say that I would agree with you, but every year, every week that we've sat there and think something like that's going to happen, reality suggests otherwise. We've predicted Sumter County to go in there and cakewalk some teams, and they ended up squeaking out of there with just a last-minute victory. Taylor County better not go in there and just think Central's going to lie down for them, because they hadn't. Central has got a victory this year, so they know how to win. But let's see if they can do it against Taylor County Vikings. I'm going to go with Taylor County also.
Yeah, then Macon County, they're 4-3 overall. They're off this week. Their next game will be the following week at Marion County, so that'll be an interesting one for us to talk about next week. Scott, we did mention our announcement from Georgia High School Association last week that they have extended the season for 1 week due to all the Hurricane Helene damage in many parts of Georgia. What that means is the Georgia High School Association playoffs will not start until that November the 15th, 16th weekend. So 1 week later than had originally been planned. Their hope is that a lot of these teams that had to cancel games will have a chance to make those up before the playoffs start. Couple things I want to mention, Scott, before we close. It's high school softball playoff time next week. Sly County will host Mount Zion of Carroll. That'll be at 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock on Wednesday. Be a doubleheader. If the two teams were to split, they'll play the rubber game on Thursday. Talked to Coach Blaze Hargrove at Southland Academy this afternoon, and Blaze tells me that their tournament starts on Thursday in Columbus. They're going to play all of it in Columbus this year, and he knows they'll play at 10 o'clock a.m. and then again at 2 o'clock p.m. They do not know the opponent yet. That will be announced on Monday, I think he told me. So Southland Raider softball fans, pay close attention to that. But congratulations to both Sly County's Lady Wildcats and Southland Academy's Lady Raiders on the softball field, both of those getting ready for state competition. Scott, it's been a lot of fun again tonight. I hope you'll be able to join me for supper next week. And we got a lot to talk about in next week's schedule.
Definitely. I'll just eat my pig ear sandwich tonight, and you enjoy whatever's left on the buffet.
What's Carson doing tonight?
Carson tonight, they got Kansas State this weekend. Thursday night is not unlike most other nights, but, the next night, a lot of the players will put them off site in a hotel, just make sure they make curfews and all that. He is, if tonight is like most of his nights, I hear what he's having in Boulder, he's having the time of his life. He's enjoying the atmosphere. He's enjoying playing football, which, that amazes me because, you hear so many horror stories when these kids go off from high school to college and they say, hey, it's not the same thing. But he's having the time of his life with it. And he'll probably get ill with me saying this, but we got 100 on his chemistry test this week. So we're proud of that. So we're just going to, Michelle is going to go out there to see the game this weekend, but I'm staying home. I got some work I got to do due to, a lot of my dad's estate. So I'm gonna work some stuff this weekend. But I'm definitely going to get back in the saddle and get back down here with you as soon as I can.
So to all the folks watching us in the Colorado football facility right now, thank you for joining the Integrity Sports Podcast. We hope all of you guys will go to our YouTube page and hit the subscribe button. Thanks also to our friends at Locked On Auburn, as well as our friends over at the Next Round Live. We thank you guys for watching. Please pass it along to all your friends to subscribe to YouTube, and whatever platform you're watching on, make sure and hit like and share. It's been a lot of fun. We'll be back with you next week from the Roman Oven. For my friend Scott Westbrook, I'm Tim Estes. Thanks for watching. So long, everybody.